Hey everyone. Hi. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Alison Rosen is your new best friend. I'm very excited to bring in our guest in a moment. But first, I must catch up with producer Tony Thaxton and find out how he has been. Tony, did you notice that I didn't make a reference to your nickname? The bad boy of podcasting, which the nickname that you gave yourself. Oops, there, I just did it.
Yeah, now it doesn't count. So that's so much for that.
How's it going?
I appreciate the thought, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean, I appreciate your appreciation of it, but I don't deserve said appreciation.
All right, I'll take it back then. To answer your question, I'm okay. Busier than usual. Suddenly getting a little busy. Busy day today. This is already my, kind of third podcast in a way.
Look at you getting out there, you podcast slut.
I got to do music and podcast recording today. So
look at that. Now, is this you
good.
being on podcasts or recording podcasts?
Well, it was playing drums with Matt Gorley's band Townland, who just had a record come out, and so they recorded the playing for two different podcasts to be the music guest, and then I didn't quite know I was going to get to do this part, but we also did a thing for Andy Daly with Andy Daly.
Ooh, I like him.
And then I got to be, he's the best. I got to be a little part of the talking part of that as well, which I didn't quite know that I was going to be doing, but that was fun.
Well, that's very cool. And then you've been a guest on a bunch of podcasts lately. I feel like you're really hitting it hard.
I mean, I got to do something other than sit on my couch and stare at TV and pet the dog, right?
We all have to do something, Tony.
Alison Rosen, Alison's your new best friend.
You know what I've been doing in it? For anyone who's watching the video of this, youtube.com/Alison Rosen, I am fixated on, okay, before we started, I was fixated on the hair on my head, and our lovely guest, who we're going to bring in a moment, can attest to the fact that I was fidgeting with my own hair too much. And now there's a little hair that's attached to my microphone and it's dangling, and I am obsessed with removing it. So I don't know what this says about me. I feel like in
anyone
college,
watching on YouTube is going to see it because you do all these in 4K, right?
Yes, I do. In surround sound, too. They're like, she's fidgeting with a hair over here and now over here. In college, someone would have been like, that means you're sexually frustrated, right? Anytime someone chomped on ice, they're like, that means you're sexually frustrated, right? I feel like it's almost like a horoscope. No offense to people who are very into astrology, which is fine and is, I'm sure, a science in some way. I'm just saying that there's a good chance that if you say to someone who's of college age, that means you're sexually frustrated, right? It's like you're going to hit on some kind of truth there. But anyway, no, what I was going to say, Tony, is, I've made a big deal about how I've switched from for years, all I drank were clear, calorie-free, but artificially sweetened sodas, of which I was like very loyal to a certain brand. And then at a certain point, I switched to a different brand. And then because I hate water, there's all sorts of drops. You don't have to play it now, but insert it afterward.
I know. Every time you say it blows my mind.
Water can suck a dick. I don't like it that much. Yes, I don't like water. I'm well aware that human beings are supposed to drink water. Maybe I'm not human, but I had enough, and I said, I'm going to drink water like a human being. And I've been very proud of myself. I drink water in the middle of the night. I even drink water. I don't like it, but I drink water. I empty my water bottle down my throat that I'm actually imbibing it. And then I go to the refrigerator, just like the man wants. And I push the little button and I refill my little water bottle, and then I drink more of it.
Thank you for all this detail on how you
That's how much I drink it.
Drink your water.
Glug, 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 drinking water. Just like they want.
Everyone was sitting there, but how does she
do it? Yeah. Drink, hydrate. Fill up, hydrate, die. That's what they want, Tony. But anyway, in the midst, I've interrupted it. I've interrupted the water drinking. It's like when someone gets off of one drug and then goes to something much harder. In this travel mug that looked like, for all you know, I'm drinking something healthy like green tea. But what this actually is 0 calorie Coke and coffee. No, I did not make my own blend, although I have made my own blend.
Oh yeah, because it's like a thing right now.
Yes,
right?
It's a thing.
I just heard about this recently.
I don't even.
Do you like it?
Kind of.
I haven't tried. I don't drink soda, but
oh, how great for you!
Yeah,
I bet you think you're so wonderful.
Yeah, I don't even own a TV. That's not true.
Do you? I bet when you were a child, you just had Swedish wooden toys. Listen, you Montessori of humans. I really don't even know that much about Montessori. I'm sure it's wonderful in many ways. But I do like it. I was surprised how much. But I like coffee and I like Diet Coke and and weirdly the blend is really good. And
what is it actually called?
It is called, I don't know. It comes in a little, like the shape of the can is like a Red Bull. Mm-hmm. And there's a few different flavors. It's kind of hard to find the one that's 0 calories. If you're looking for that one, just beware. And it's a red can and it's, you know what? Again, too much detail. I'll find out and I'll take a picture of it because I have some in my house and it has more caffeine than a Coke, but less caffeine than coffee. So that's what I like about it. So it's good for a podcast.
Okay. Gotcha.
But then it'll just be back to water. I'll just put on my monkey suit and drink the water. Anyway, we can find out from our guest whether water is really so important in the human body.
I have a feeling it is.
Yeah, I have a feeling it is too. But our guest is not only an actual physician, but she's a stand-up comedian and she co-hosts a very hilarious, informative, and popular podcast called HypochondriActor with a man that you are quite familiar with, Sean Hayes. Please put your hands together for Priyanka Wali.
Oh, yay. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. How exciting.
Water is a scam, right? We don't really need it, right? Water can suck a dick. I don't like it that much.
Well,
I'm joking.
I don't know. Yes, it's a scam. It's a total scam. I'm saying that on the record. No.
Yeah, I wish I enjoyed it more. I don't know what it is. And it's funny.
What do you experience when you drink water? Like what do you feel
that's what
tells
I'm fascinated by too?
Yeah, like you're not enjoying it.
I think it's a lack of something. I think that I feel it's a dull, dead-end sensation. You know, it's funny. I have 2 little boys. I have a 5. They just turned 5 and 3.
Oh,
and
nice.
My 5-year-old doesn't like any sort of fizz or carbonation or anything.
Okay.
He really likes water. He's one of them. And my 3-year-old really wants anything. He always wants sips of my coffee. He likes anything carbonated. And I'm like, oh no. He's inherited whatever I have, which is like he wants a lot of flavor in his beverages. So I think it's just that the carbonated diet clear flavored waters that I was drinking, like they have a lot of flavor to them. And I think I just prefer that sensation. Water is just so nothing. Which I get is the benefit of it, but I don't
the point of water.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really boring, but I've noticed that water tastes really good only when you're thirsty.
Yes.
Have you ever been really thirsty and had water and been like, wow, this tastes so good? You probably don't experience that often unless it's like sweetened with, you know, whatever the stuff they put in it.
Right. But I think that the citric acid or whatever it is that gives like, you know, 0 calorie, 0 caffeine, wild cherry, very chemical laden, clear, whatever. It's pizzazz. I convinced myself is very thirst quenching.
Okay.
But yes, I have enjoyed water when I'm truly thirsty. And the times of my life that I've been sick or like I remember having surgery and recovering from surgery and all I wanted was water.
Right.
And I thought, wow, when I'm in a reduced state, I do want water. But of the more evolved me wants some flavor.
Yeah, so you're like totes evolved right now. Let's just put it at that.
Right.
Diagnosis totes evolved.
So let us talk more about you. Okay, so deep down, are you more, and maybe this is an unfair question, but are you more physician or more comedian?
Oh man, I struggle with that question all the time. I think it depends on the time of the year and the season and what my mood is. But I definitely have healer qualities. But I like just messing around and being totally stupid and playing. So, can't really do that in the doctor's office, but, I'm definitely a nerd as well. So it honestly fluctuates. It really depends on the time of the year, the season. I think I'm much more of a comedian in the winter time because it's just darker and drearier and you're spending more time indoors. Summertime, I'm probably more like, outside. So then into more natural processes and more of a healer. So I think honestly, my honest answer is I'm a fair square both. I do both.
Because the sense I get is that from having seen a bit of your stand up, there was pressure to become a doctor in your family. Yes. Because you're like
that's like a really gentle way of putting it. Like I came out of the womb holding a stethoscope practically. I mean, it was definitely like part of the Priyanka Wali birthing plan to, definitely go to medical school. And I think it's important to remember ancestrally, like my family, I come from a long line of healers. Like my great grandfather was one of the first anesthesiologists in Kashmir.
Oh, that's so cool.
Which is where my family's originally from. And so, I think there's a lot of that kind of in the lineage. So when I was born and I was like, I want to be an artist or a writer, like do all these other things. My family was kind of like, what? Like, what do you mean? And so there was absolute pressure. And I resisted it a lot. I fought it a lot. But there was always a part of me that actually genuinely enjoyed being a healer, enjoyed helping people, enjoyed being a nerd and like knowing the science. So I stopped fighting it, but I still kind of quenched my artistic side. Yeah.
If there hadn't been that pressure to become a doctor, though, do you think you would have?
Oh my gosh. What I would have become like a pastry chef or something, just completely just very just with your hands or something. I would have been a pastry chef or maybe a fashion designer.
Oh, wow.
I would have done something really just completely unrelated.
And also something where you could have competed on a reality show. For some reason, those are the two
that
things.
is obviously the ultimate goal of all of this, right? To just get on reality TV.
Totally. Yes. Yes. Where were you born?
I was born in Los Angeles, born and raised in Southern California. Yeah.
You're an internist?
Yeah, internal medicine. Yeah.
Okay. What was medical school like?
And I take a long pause and a long deep breath. It was really, it was probably one of the darkest days of my life. It was, in addition to just being very challenging academically, it was, really hard to be supported. And I have really had a very hard time in medical school. I was very depressed in med school. Yeah.
Can you say more about that?
Oh yeah, totally. Well, actually, I've spoken publicly about this. There was once an article in Women's Health magazine about the depression that I had in medical school, and I ended up doing a one-person show about my experiences in medical training. But yeah, essentially, I was very depressed as a medical student. I didn't have a lot of social support. I was a lot younger, so I didn't really have a lot of coping skills. And I remember very clearly, and growing up, culturally going to therapy or getting help like that wasn't something I grew up with. Ironically, despite coming from a, family of healers, we didn't talk about therapy or anything like that.
Is it seen as a weakness?
I can't speak for why culturally people don't.
Just not done.
I think there's a lot of cultural issues maybe in terms of repressing certain emotions and, that's sort of a sidebar. But I mean, Kashmiri pundits, which is where my family's from, I mean, we have dealt with genocide and diaspora and like, sometimes repressing those feelings is part of a survival mode. You can't really even talk about it. So it wasn't until I went to med school, I was on my psychiatry rotation, and I realized on that rotation, as I was interviewing all these people who had depression, that I was like, oh my gosh, there's literally no difference between me and some of these patients. And so that's, I didn't realize I was depressed until my psychiatry rotation in med school. And then I sort of began the journey of getting into therapy. I was on meds for a period of time and sort of getting the help that I needed, learning coping skills. And eventually when I graduated med school, things got a lot better. And that was a very formative, once you experience depression to that degree, it really does change your perspective about what experiencing intense amounts of sadness can do for you. It really sort of made me realize that sadness can be a indicator of that something in your life isn't going in the right direction, and something requires some reevaluation. And so coming out of that experience, then I went to residency, and I realized in residency, that's when I started performing stand-up comedy. I sort of had a different perspective since I had been depressed, that I didn't want to go back there. So that's when I started doing stand-up and, really got in touch with all these wonderful things to kind of help me stay balanced. Because all depression really is it's an imbalance. It's a lot of a particular type of an emotion, whether it's great sadness or great pain. And, things like performing and journaling and being in therapy are all tools to just kind of keep me in balance. So yeah, that's kind of a long answer to your question, I guess.
So you said that, and I'm going to paraphrase, but essentially depression is a sign that there's an imbalance in your life. So what was it you feel like during medical school was missing in your life, or what had been the imbalance?
Oh yeah. A sense of safety and security within my own self. There was, so the medical system, ironically, is not the most supportive system in creating healers. Just to give you some stats, let me just preface this with some objective data. Physicians have the highest rate of suicide compared to any other profession. And ironically, psychiatry is the highest specialty in terms of suicide rates. Wow. The average is one physician suicide per day. So the system is not, exactly. It's shocking, right? Yeah. And the system isn't exactly designed to be supportive of healers. So I was already in a system that wasn't supportive. I remember calling the university mental health services and saying, hi, literally it was like, hi, I'm a medical student and I think I have depression and I would like cognitive behavioral therapy. And they were like, okay, well, you can see someone in 12 to 16 weeks. And, I was like, what the hell? Like, I might be dead by then. What are you talking about? And so it's like, these are not supportive systems. But I think, it took years to kind of, what it really came down to was the internal dialogue that I was having within myself. I mean, there was just so much self-criticism, self-judgment. There wasn't love. There really wasn't this sense of love. And that took many, many years to shift that narrative, to shift the dialogue that I was having with myself. There were also other issues. I mean, the program was stressful. I wasn't getting along with my family. I was in a terrible relationship. I mean, like, there were just so many things. I probably wasn't eating the right foods as well. My diet was crap. Like, all sorts of reasons for me to get depressed. I'm sure my vitamin D levels were low. In fact, they were. There were just like tons of reasons to get depressed. It was a perfect storm
of stuff. Yeah. And then for you, when you were very depressed or very sad, like, what did that look like?
Oh, so major brain fog, like thinking super slow, like just like almost, they have this, it's this condition. It's called pseudo-dementia, where a person gets really cognitively slow, but they don't have dementia. It's pseudo-dementia. It's a secondary effect of depression. So, things were just really hard. It's really incredible. I mean, I passed all of my classes, but
that's the thing that's so amazing to me is that in the midst of all of this, you still were able to succeed. Like, kudos.
I mean, thank you. Thank you so much. I honestly look back on that time and think about, I don't honestly know how I did it, but it happened. I passed all my classes and I got through and I have such a clear memory. I remember like studying for this exam and I would sit and I would do the question and then I was going so slow that I would like do the same question and I had forgotten I had just done that question. And then I was like, wait a minute, why?
Yeah.
It's like my brain
disconnected from your body.
Yeah. And then I also had some of the other kind of more classic symptoms that you would find in the classic diagnosis, like feelings of worthlessness, hopelessness, no energy, difficulty just doing basic tasks, kind of the classic symptoms, just feeling very sad, a lot of guilt. Yeah.
So, okay, fast forward now. Here we are now. You're clearly in a better place.
Yeah, definitely.
Doing comedy. You live in Northern California, right?
Yes. I'm based in the Bay Area.
And okay, we're gonna jump around. This will just be just like what show did I just watch where it was jumping around and I was like, I am very confused.
Was it Inventing Anna? Because I just finished that.
No, is that worth watching?
I really liked it.
Okay,
yeah.
I'll start it. No, I think it was Station 11. Is it Station 11?
No, Station 81 or what is it?
Isn't it Station 11? Was it Station 81? I thought it was Station 11.
You're talking about the one about the one that jumps around. It's about like this like weird apartment building and there are these like people from the past and there's these, like satanic rituals, right? Or isn't it called Station 81?
Wait,
Archive 81. I'm sorry.
That sounds good though. That sounds good. No, I'm talking about Station 11, which is about a pandemic and it jumps around and it's sort of, but I feel like there was even another thing I watched.
There's no way I'm watching a series about a pandemic.
I know.
Clear. Like Contagion was as far as I was going to get. But no, I am living the series.
I feel like there's something else I watched though, where it was jumping around too. And I was like, oh, I know what it was. It was, Being the Ricardos, which I also don't recommend.
Oh, yeah. I saw that.
Did you like it?
Yeah, no, I thought, well, yeah, no, I actually, I really like all of the actors, but you're right. It did jump around a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Where it jumped around and then I experienced a lag of like, oh, wait, it took me a little while to realize when it was jumping around.
It jumps around a lot for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. But the acting, it was like Olympic style actors.
Yes.
It was, all these great. Yeah. Anyways.
Right. So anyway, this is a Being the Ricardo style jumping around because I'm bringing you to now and then we're going to go back and fill in the blanks. Okay. So now you're co-hosting HypochondriActor. How did this all come about? How do you know Sean Hayes?
Yeah. So Sean has a production company with Todd Milliner called Hazy Mills Productions, and they actually came to me. This was pre-pandemic, and Sean really loves medical things, and so
because he's a hypochondriac, right?
Because he's
self-described.
A hypochondriactor, yes. And so they were looking to do a medical show, but they wanted a doctor that has some comedic timing and isn't just like a square. So we met actually at Hazy Mills and we hit it off. And, then the pandemic happened and then Hazy Mills decided to do a podcast division. And so that was it. And then there was HypochondriActor. So yeah, from the first moment I met Sean, it was, it was just very natural. Like, and then when we actually started recording, we were like, oh, this is great. Like we have good chemistry. Like this is cool.
That's so cool. So like, did they just Google Dr. Comedian?
I mean, probably. I'm sure it had something to do with Ken Jeong being unavailable.
It's the one thing he's not in now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So have you recorded with him in person?
We haven't recorded in person. We've been doing everything through Zoom. We've definitely met in person, but it's so, I mean, you probably know, it's so like logistically to get everything organized, like Zoom, it has to be Zoom. And plus he's in Chicago right now working on his play, and I'm in the Bay. So it's, I mean, I do spend time in LA, but I think it's logistically just too challenging. Yeah.
During the pandemic, I've started co-hosting a new podcast called Upworthy Weekly with this guy, Todd Perry. And he and I have this it's really worked out really well. We have this amazing chemistry. And then he was just a guest on this show. But the funny thing is we've actually never, it feels like we know each other really well, but I was thinking like we've never met in person. The whole thing has been over Zoom.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
You know what? There are actually some times where Sean won't text me. Like something will happen to him medically, and then he won't text me about it because he wants to save it for the podcast. So there was one time he went to the hospital.
Oh my God.
And well, he goes to the hospital a lot. Okay. Everyone at Cedars knows him. It's not as like crazy as it sounds, but he went to Cedars over the weekend, and I didn't hear about it until we recorded that Monday or Tuesday. And I was like, well, why didn't you text me? Like, and he was like, oh no, I knew we were going to talk about it on the show. So yeah, it's kind of funny. Yeah.
So what is that like for you as a doctor now with an increasing public profile?
Yeah. Well, I actually really relish it. I really like, I'm really passionate about educating the public about health stuff, and I am really passionate about doing it in an accurate way and not a fake newsy kind of way. And so to me, this is a real delight because it's been so gratifying. It's been so gratifying to get messages from people to be like, hey, thank you so much for, I listened to this episode and it actually like really helped me with this one issue I was having. I can't tell you how awesome that is to read those messages.
Mm-hmm. I guess what I'm wondering, do you have a private practice?
I do. Yeah.
So how does it work with, but I guess as a stand-up comedian, you're putting your own private life out there too.
Yeah.
But
sure.
Are there concerns about someone who comes to you as a doctor knowing things that you said on the podcast or things about your personal life, or how do you keep all those different roles?
So I take HIPAA and like patient privacy super seriously. So I never talk about patients,
of course,
on the podcast or anything like that. I take that really seriously. And I'm able to keep a pretty clean line. Like there are definitely patients that have come to me and been like, hey, I heard about you through the podcast. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like I listened to the podcast, and I'm like, great. It actually sometimes makes my job a little bit easier because then I don't have to go over something that they've already heard. So and then I can work on some more like high level stuff or personalized stuff. So I like it. It's making my job a lot easier because I don't have to repeat myself as much, But to your question, I keep the worlds really separate. I never give personalized medical advice on the air. If someone really has a serious issue, then, I enroll them in the clinic and I see them officially. And, it's a very like official kind of relationship. And I take all that really seriously.
Mm-hmm. I want to take a moment to talk to you guys about something that I'm passionate about, and that is therapy. If you've listened to me for any amount of time, you know how much I believe wholeheartedly in therapy, how much therapy has helped me. I want to tell you guys about BetterHelp. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. Relationships take work, especially the most important one you have in your life, your relationship with yourself. A lot of us will drop anything to go help someone we care about. We'll go out of our way to treat other people well, but how often do we give ourselves the same treatment? So this month, BetterHelp Online Therapy wants to remind you that you matter just as much as everyone else does, and therapy is a great way to make sure you show up for yourself. It's also a great great way for me personally to say, hey, Daniel, you know what? For the next hour, I'm not even in this house. I'm in my studio and you can't talk to me. And it's not just going to be an hour, because what I do is I go out to my studio like 10, 12 minutes before. I mess around on my phone. I wait for my therapist to call me. And then after the appointment, I sit there for another. I give myself a cushion on both ends. That you should do that too. BetterHelp is online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. Give it a try and see why over 2 million people have used BetterHelp online therapy. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and Alison Rosen listeners get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/bestfriend. That's BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/bestfriend. Okay. All right. And we are back. Are there some things, some medical things that you feel like people get wrong that you would like people to know or to get right, or just misconceptions? This is a very broad question, but.
Oh, it's huge. It's totally huge. Gosh, what theme should I choose from the Rolodex of information? Well, here's one, and I'm actually I'm curious how you will sit with it, given what you were talking about earlier about the Diet Coke coffee stuff. Yeah, the water stuff. But you know, I don't know if people really understand how dangerous high fructose corn syrup is in the body. Which, first of all, it's a synthetically created Frankenstein marriage of glucose and fructose to create high fructose corn syrup. So it's sweeter than regular sugar, but it actually causes more damage to the body. It actually causes direct damage, inflammation to the liver. It causes total body inflammation. So it's not like this cute little synthetic thing.
I only do artificial sweetener, which I'm sure you have feelings about, but I'm fine with. This is not personally affecting me at all because I avoid high fructose corn syrup. So
okay,
so go on, Queen.
Okay. Well, that's really interesting that you sort of figured that out to avoid it. I'm curious if you had certain experiences that kind of told you that, but there's actually a lot of like established data about how high fructose corn syrup is actually quite damaging to the body. And it's the one thing that I would say you should not put in your body, regardless of who you are. You know, it's definitely like the one thing. If I had to say the one thing, it would probably be like, stay away from high fructose corn syrup.
What about sugar?
Well, it depends. Okay. So, for example, if someone has diseases of what I call insulin resistance, so that would be things like type 2 diabetes, prediabetes, fatty liver, polycystic ovarian syndrome, sugar or carbohydrates cause hormonal imbalances that can then worsen those types of illnesses. And so, my answer to your question is that it really depends on the individual and what kinds of issues they're dealing with. But in general, sugar is a very inflammatory type of thing, you know? So.
And here's where it gets real. Tony, do you have anything to play to indicate we're heading into dangerous territory? Maybe like a dun dun dun.
Uh-oh. Now I'm getting scared.
Don't get scared. Splenda, sucralose, erythritol, Truvia. They make up the backbone of my diet. I am 90% Truvia. How do you feel about those?
So, you know what? I am a recovered sugar addict. Like so there was a period of time where I stopped having sugar and I needed those sort of sugar alternatives or artificial sweeteners for, a couple of years before I could eventually stop those. And so, this is what I say to patients that, I would prefer that you have the artificial stuff than having the real deal because,
it's like I'm addicted to Suboxone.
Yeah, it's like the methadone for, yeah, no, definitely. So, I get it. I mean, there was a period of time where when I was coming off sugar that I would drink Diet Cokes like a lot. And then eventually I sort of, my body kind of changed and I was like, all right, I'm ready to stop the artificial stuff. And then I got off Diet Coke, but it took a while. It took me a while. So, you know what? My answer to you is like, look, Alison, you do you, and
that.
just yeah, like whatever you need, yeah.
But is your medical like medically speaking, is it better to avoid them?
Yeah, so there are some published studies out there that talk about how even the artificial sweeteners, they can actually do things like change your gut microbiome, which can then affect your hunger signals or your ability to regulate weight. So there's certainly some side effects to working with artificial sweeteners. But again, you have to look at the context. Like if someone has a sugar addiction, it's much better for them to have the artificial sweeteners than to eat the real sugar sweeteners because it could worsen other issues. But if you really want to do some fine tuning, yeah, in general, it's probably best to avoid artificial sweeteners in general or anything artificial really. But that is easier said than done.
This is now self-indulgent because now I'm just asking you me questions. But so I'll get off of this. But do you think they could cause cancer?
There was a study done in rats where they were fed huge like double what their body size should have had.
That's
huge
what I consume,
amounts of aspartame, and these rats developed cancer. But you would have to literally consume like your body weight in artificial sweetener to develop the cancers. But you know what? Let's be honest. If it's getting to that point, like, I think there's a bigger question here. Like, what's really going on here?
Yeah.
Like, why would someone require that much artificial sweetener to sort of operate? Like, that's, I think, a bigger question then. But so I'm quoting a rat study, basically, that found that cancer link. You would have to consume massive, massive amounts of artificial sweeteners.
Yeah. Well, now that I'm drinking water, like everyone wants me to, I've really cut down. Now it's just in my coffee and I guess my Diet Coke coffee, which I don't drink that
What
much.
do you think about things like stevia or monk fruit extract, which are they're natural. They're still processed, but they're natural. Yeah.
Truvia is stevia, but it's stevia mixed with erythritol.
Erythritol, yeah.
So it's not straight. I have tried just stevia or monk fruit. It's just I don't like it as much, but I could switch to it if I had to.
The aftertaste, is it? Yeah, everyone complains about that.
It's not that like real sweetness. It's got that. This is different feeling.
I got you.
Yeah,
for sure.
But I guess that would be like a transitional phase.
Hey,
I could try
look. I get it. There was literally like several years where I was relying on Truvia, erythritol. I had it all. You know what I mean? Like I had all of the things. And it definitely like helped me get off sugar for sure.
Are you on TikTok at all?
I'm not on TikTok. And everyone has been asking me about that, but I don't know. I'm just like worried about the security issues and all that stuff.
Okay. So, and Tony's heard me talk about TikTok too much. My whole TikTok story. Originally, my husband and I got on TikTok. When I say got on, I just mean like downloaded it. And then he mentioned something about how it's probably the same security thing that you're concerned about.
Yeah.
So he's like, we should delete it. So we deleted it. And then some time passed, like a while. And then I was like, no, I got to get on it. So I got on it, and
you just couldn't resist.
I just decided I don't care.
You were like, privacy is dead anyway. Who cares?
What am I keeping? I give it all away anyway. What am I keeping private? Because I kept hearing people say it's so creative, it's so addictive, and I thought, how can that be? I don't enjoy Instagram Reels at all. I don't understand. I don't want to watch people do stupid dances. And then I discovered, oh my gosh, I really do enjoy TikTok in a way that I don't enjoy Instagram Reels. So I spend a lot of time looking at TikToks, and I do find it to be, I enjoy it a lot. but somehow I've ended up on a lot of medical TikTok stuff.
Oh,
and there's these these different sort of controversies and arguments will bubble up on TikTok, which I don't know if they make their way to you periodically. But one of these big ones that I keep seeing, and I'm wondering what your thoughts are. It seems that there's this big discussion happening on TikTok about IUD placement without anesthesia. And a lot of women are talking about how their IUDs were they don't offer routine anesthesia with IUD placement, and they say that it's...
You mean like local injected anesthesia?
Yeah, they don't do it because they say that... I've not had an IUD placed, but they...
I have, or I had in the past, yeah. Mm-hmm.
How was it for you?
Well, first I just want to say I am definitely pro IUD. I took it out eventually, but I got the copper IUD. But I totally remember. I remember getting it put in. I was an atheist at the time, but I remember when I got my IUD in, I was not atheist for the few 15-minute period that I was getting it put in. I was just praying. Because it was really intense to get the thing put in. Yeah. I felt like all this energy just flowing up towards me. And I was like, whoa. Yeah. So it's not a comfortable procedure, but I am 100% pro IUD. And that IUD saved me from a lot of situations. So yeah. I don't know, but I think the protocol maybe will change in a grassroots kind of way, because I've seen women gynecologists on TikTok saying I feel so bad. Yes, I have done them without anesthesia, but in my practice, I'm going to begin offering anesthesia. I feel so bad. I was taught to do it without anesthesia, but I'm going to make it available now. What they've said is that, the idea is that the cervix is poorly innervated, but then this is TikTok. It's social media. I don't know. But, then they'll show a chart of but if you see here, there is a nerve flow and and then also people will talk about endometrial biopsies and how, and I've had one of those, and my doctor, those things are uncomfortable.
Oh my God. I had one of those without anesthesia.
Yeah. They don't usually do that.
Yeah. And I remember my doctor said it's going to be a 7 or 8 on the pain scale, but it'll be fast. And she actually told me, and I remember thinking, there's no way that's it's I heard it and then it didn't really take it in, because I thought there's no way it's really going to be that, because they wouldn't do something like that without anesthesia.
But they did. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it really does hurt.
Oh my God. It was so crazy. But here's the thing is she was like, there's no nerves in the uterus. It's cramping that's hurting. I don't know. It was so bad that procedures after that, I made sure that I was put under after that.
Sure.
It was so crazy. But anyway, TikTok is handling it now.
I think, I think you're hitting upon a really important point. Historically, at least in the medical system that we work in, for example, research publications, there isn't as much high quality research done on female bodies than there are on male bodies. I give this lecture about insulin resistance and sexual dysfunction. And when it comes to studies on male sexual dysfunction, there's so many studies out there, high quality trials funded by $1 billion industry. But when you do studies on female sexual dysfunction, low quality trials, not as numerous. It's just, it's harder to study, quote. And so, I do think there is a bias against female bodies in our medical system, and it's reflected in some of the procedures that perhaps we do on female bodies, and the amount of pain susceptibility that female bodies have to endure. As someone who got their IUD put in, I remember it hurt, and I remember that, whether you receive anesthesia or not, having an IUD it's persistently uncomfortable after you get it put in. And so it's, it's usually not like just a one-time thing. Like you feel it for a while before your body gets used to it, and so I completely agree that we should be thinking about ways to do medical procedures in a more humane way. I'm not a gynecologist, so I can't speak on the details of anesthesia or not, but I am pro humane treatment of human beings. When we send our animals to vets, we, medicate them and sedate them and we make them calm. But I can't speak on the details, but I definitely think as someone that got an IUD, like, it would have been nicer if maybe I was more medicated.
It's really interesting. It's one of those things where you think about it and you're like, oh, this is like it's like this one area needs to catch up with the rest of it. Cause then again, I keep having to issue this disclaimer. I realize this is social media, so who knows? But still, like, and then in the comments, there's people talking about, like, my husband got a vasectomy and was, offered 12 different kinds of pain relief and stuff like that. But I guess one of the arguments is like, well, a shot of local in the cervix is going to hurt and it's not necessary. But I don't know. I remember one time, because I'm a tough stick for IVs, and so I asked. Oh, really? I always.
I wonder why I'm not drinking enough water.
I always ask for lidocaine, and one time they were like, "Well, okay, but that means we got to poke you twice." And I'm always like, "I'll take that risk," like, because I'll only feel one of them, versus potentially feeling one of them 17 times when you dig around. Totally. So it's like, yes, you're gonna. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I'm just in this now I'm getting like flashbacks to my IUD insertion. I'm like, wait, did they do local? Like, what did they do? I mean, it was so long ago. I just remember.
Probably, if you found God, they probably didn't. Yeah, unless it was just pressure, but.
Yeah, no, it was definitely not just pressure. Yeah. It was like something, it was a spiritual like experience for sure. Yeah.
Right. Isn't oh my God, what's the word? It starts with an A. The name Agatha is, oh my God, this is a giant brain
Agatha
fart.
Christie, the author?
No, the name Agatha is like derives from the word agony. Agony, I think agony has there's like a spiritual meaning of the word agape, right?
Oh, agape. Which agape is the Greek word for the type of love that you feel for someone when they've experienced a tragedy. It's sympathetic love. That's what agape is.
Okay. I was thinking somehow this related to like the spiritual thing you experienced with your IUD insertion, but I think I was reaching and I
think it was just like a shock to my system because I had never had a procedure like that done before. And it was, I think there are kind of people that have reported, experiencing something really shocking and then kind of like temporarily, going to some other world. It's possible I temporarily dissociated when it actually got inserted because it was such a shock to the system, to have something placed in the cervix. But I definitely don't want to come across as like I am pro IUD. Like I believe in like, birth control and family planning and all that stuff. And so it was worth it. Like even though getting it done was really uncomfortable, it was totally worth it down the line. And I got the copper IUD. And that lasts at minimum 10 years. And I think I wore it for like 10 years. I think I wore it for like the longest time. Yeah. You could probably wear it longer than 10 years because the research they stop following the participants at 10 years. But I mean, yeah, you could probably, but you know what? I'm not giving that advice out like officially, obviously go talk to your doctor about that.
And I am not a doctor at all. I'm just someone who just started drinking water. But what I've learned from TikTok and the doctors that I have seen on TikTok and the women in their comments is you can talk to your doctor about anesthesia options with getting an IUD. So when you're discussing getting an IUD, which seems like a good idea for many people, just talk about your concerns and ask about some anesthesia. Because I think if they're up on the current conversations, then they'll be more open to it.
Yeah, no, you bring up such a good point, Allison. Like, it's so important to advocate for your health needs with your healthcare provider. Yeah.
It's hard, though.
It is hard. Yeah.
In early relationships, I was always like, I'm going to be the cool girlfriend who's like never annoyed by anything and never needs anything. And I'm just like a doormat. How cool I'll be. They'll never not want me there. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I was so needy, but like trying so hard to hide that. And then in my dad's a doctor. So I think
what kind of doctor is he?
General. He retired now, but he was a general practitioner. So family doctor. Cool. So I think I'm sure my therapist would say, it has to do with my feelings about authority and my feelings about my dad and stuff too, but always really afraid to ever like be too much with the doctor and trying to be so respectful of a doctor's time and not ask too many questions and be like trying to like I can hear it in my, like, it's very much like making every doctor an authority figure, making every doctor my dad. So always just wanting to be like a good girl and,
right.
And so kind of doing the opposite of advocating for myself. And I had such different experiences with giving birth to my first son and my second. And it all had to do with just not advocating at all with my first and then completely advocating for myself. And it's not like I came in with my second and I was like, here's what I want versus, it wasn't even that different. It was just more like I felt like I could advocate for myself with my second because I kind of knew the lay of the land quite a bit better. But yeah, it's so important to advocate for yourself. It's so
important. But you know what's really funny? So your dad's a doctor. So my, again, parents, their siblings, their children, cousins on both sides, all physicians, right? So as a patient, I am a grade A pain in everyone's ass because I have grown up with so many doctors. I think I'm like the worst patient because I will hyper advocate for myself to the point where people will be like, this bitch over here, tell her to shut up.
That's good though.
Funny. Is it good though?
I think
the likability factor.
I think so. I feel like my shining moment as finally advocating for myself was I had thickened endometrium. So I had to have an operative hysteroscopy recently. And I've had, sometimes when I have anesthesia, I'm like totally fine when I wake up and I could record a podcast right after. And then sometimes I can like barely wake up in the car on the way home. I don't know what the difference is. So I'm still friendly with the nurse anesthesiologist who had like done the anesthesia really well at the fertility clinic that I went to. So I, emailed her and she's like, oh, I have the, anesthesia report. I'll send it to you. So I had that and I brought that with me to the place where I was having the surgery center was having the operative hysteroscopy. And I actually was worried about offending him by showing it to him. Like, I don't want him to think I'm telling him how to do his job. So I said, the nurse was really nice. And I said to her, like, do you think he would be offended? And she's like, no, I think he would like that,
Yeah, totally.
So anyway, I showed it to him and he's like, oh yeah, we do all this. So I like got the anesthesia totally dialed in. And then
totally.
When they wheeled me out, another nurse was like, oh, so do you work in healthcare? And I said I didn't, but I was like, oh yeah, they think.
But you're on TikTok. Yeah. So that's practically the same thing.
I'm on Health Talk. So yes, I do.
Yeah.
So we have some questions sent in by listeners.
Oh, wow.
I am on Patreon. Patreon.com/Alison Rosen is where you go. bonus episodes of The Friend Zone. That's my Patreon podcast. If you're at the $10 level, you can text me and I'll text you back. All sorts of behind the scenes content, photos, things like that go out to the people at the text level. It's really fun, you guys. We do periodic Zoom parties. You can watch the Thursday show videos. You can submit carbs. You can submit questions for the guests. And if you sign up for an annual subscription, you get 2 months free. So 12 months for the price of 10. Again, patreon.com/Alison Rosen. And we will take some questions.
Questions from our fans.
Okay. Lisa Lowry says, what was the last book she read?
Oh, so what is the last book that I read?
Yes.
Oh, okay. It's a book called Our Moon Has Blood Clots, and it's the story of Kashmiri Pundits and the genocide that our community experienced. It's a firsthand account written by a journalist named Rahul Pandita. It's really, really good. It's really well written. That's the last book I read.
So it's a comedy.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
That does sound very good. But gut. I'm pointing to my heart and saying gut wrenching.
Totally. No, yeah. I had to put it down a couple times for sure. Yeah.
Whitney C., what is her favorite thing about today, or what was her favorite thing about yesterday?
Well, my favorite thing about today was doing this podcast, of course. My favorite thing about yesterday was, so I'm really obsessed with I love this type of cheese from this company called Wisconsin Cheese Company, and they have this string cheese, but it's called Oaxacan string cheese, and it's not like normal string cheese. It's like super thick and huge, and it tastes really rich. And so I had ordered some Oaxacan string cheese from Wisconsin Cheese Company, and there had been a delay. And I finally got it yesterday. So that was a really nice thing that happened to me yesterday.
You are speaking my language.
Yeah.
I love string cheese. What?
You gotta try this.
How thick are we talking?
It's like, imagine your classic string cheese times 3. It's huge. It's like a big
like a rope
chunk.
Okay.
And it tastes so good. It's from Wisconsin Cheese Company, and it's called Oaxacan string cheese. It's so good.
Tony, I don't think I know where you stand on string cheese.
I'm pretty much pro cheese all around.
Yay!
Not a big fan of Swiss, but other than that, I'm all for all cheeses.
That's fair.
I think I made an announcement at some point about not being into Swiss because in general, I never get excited by it. And then I had some and I was like, I'm okay with it. Priyanka, Swiss?
I mean, I'm pro cheese, especially if I'm hungry, Swiss or no Swiss, I'm down. There's no cheese that I won't eat unless it's maybe if it's like a strong, pungent cheese, I might be a little on the fence, but I like them all, including Swiss. Yeah.
Snapchat.
My husband and I get in. I'm not going to call it a fight because it's more of a very mild conflict. Because for a period of time, pretty much it's just the boys who eat cheddar cheese or kids who eat cheddar cheese. So I was ordering medium because it's a little less aggressive, and he thought that I should be ordering sharp.
Yeah,
because I guess when he wants the sharp. But if it's going to be
the old classic sharp versus medium debate,
how many classic sitcom episodes were about that? But if I'm going to eat it, which I actually don't, so I should just relent. I actually prefer a medium cheddar. Where do you guys come down on this?
Yeah, it depends on the occasion. Like if I'm making a burger, sharp is what needs to go over the burger. But medium cheddar would be nice like in omelets and stuff. So it kind of just depends on what I'm using it with. But if I'm eating just cheese alone, I would probably choose the medium over the sharp because sharp really goes well accompanied with something.
Right. Tony?
I don't have strong opinions on that. I honestly, I don't really ever pay attention to which is which, and you could give me both, and I don't think I could tell you the difference.
Wow,
your diplomacy is annoying.
I see what's going on here. Okay.
Seth Eisenberg, what did you think, if you saw it, of the Netflix show Indian Matchmaking?
Oh, So I actually was recruited.
Oh, really?
To be on that show, but then I turned it down. So I never actually watched the show because I was actually intricately involved in, they, interviewed me and stuff. And then at the end I said, I can't do this. So I don't know, because I didn't watch the show, but I'm sure it's great.
What was that experience like of almost like, tell us.
It was initially it was exciting, but then I kind of sat down and was like, then they interviewed my parents too. And then it was like, wow, like it's going to involve like the whole family. And then I was like, wait, do I really want this completely out in the open, like everything? And I was kind of like, you know what? I think I'm good. It's first of all, I think finding love is such an intimate process already, because it involves, the work you're doing within your own self and then whatever's coming up with the other person. And so that's already a lot. I think then to capture that on camera, it's a lot to ask of a person. So I opted out, but I'm sure it's a great show. The director is very well. There's an Indian matchmaker who basically, exactly what it sounds, matchmakes and or makes matches, and I guess they follow people out. I don't know what ended up happening to them. Yeah.
Do you get this, or did you get the sense that you would not have been allowed to keep anything off camera?
What is that? I don't understand the question.
Like, if I don't know why I'm having trouble articulating this, because it's like, if they interviewed your parents and stuff, it sounds like it would have been a very invasive process. And I'm saying, did you get the sense that if you agreed to it, you would have had to share everything with the camera crew?
Well, obviously you share what you want to, but I just remember very clearly in the waiver that they wanted me to sign. It was basically like anything that we record, anything at all, like we're going to use, we have the right to use any and all of it. And so I was like, wow, that's kind of a lot, because, at least with podcasts and stuff, you can edit stuff. Someone says the wrong thing, you edit it out, like no harm, no foul. I wasn't involved in the creative process of it, so I felt uncomfortable with putting that much out there without having any say, like, hey, don't say, I don't want that out there. Even though they said like, hey, we don't want to make you look bad or anything like that. But I was like, look, I think I just will take responsibility and stop it there.
Yeah.
I mean, would you ever do reality TV?
I feel like it's such a deal with the devil. I mean, it is like, it's definitely like it's huge exposure, but like at what cost,
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know. Who reached someone from a production company that was like making a show that was involved with, Vanderpump Dogs reached out to me at one point, and I'm a big Vanderpump fan and a big dog fan. So I was like, oh my God, this could be very cool. But something about the way the email was, like I showed it to a couple friends and they're like, no, they're going to make you look like an asshole. So I just like didn't follow up on it.
It
was
tricky.
Very clear. They were looking for people. I think they were going to make fun of the people they cast.
Okay. So, yeah. This is why, it's so important to work with people you really trust, right? Like, at the end of the day, it really comes down to trust in terms of why you decide to take a project on. Yeah.
I mean, it's hard too. It's like, I was a journalist for years. That's how I got my start. And so I wrote about people all the time, and sometimes I could tell that people would be nervous or worried about how they were going to come off or things like that. And I always wished and wanted them to trust me. And then now on the other side of it, occasionally the times that I've been interviewed and people have written about me, and then I've read it and I've thought, oh, I don't like how they put that, or I feel like I came off in this way that I don't like. And it's, I totally understand feeling hesitant to hand over the reins. I completely get that.
Yeah, especially for something as intimate as finding a life partner or finding love. That is a lot. Yeah. It wasn't for me.
Right.
Yeah. That's a very long answer to that question.
But that's really have you talked about having been recruited for that?
No, this is the first time I actually have talked about it.
So that's just he struck gold with that question then.
Yeah, no, really.
Okay. Joseph Patch says, what does she think of the whole Priyanka Rosie O'Donnell screw up where Rosie thought Deepak was Priyanka's dad?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I was just thinking about that this morning. Do you know about this?
No.
So, Nick Jonas and Priyanka Chopra were at a restaurant, Nobu. And Rosie O'Donnell happened to be at the restaurant as well. And they met, and she spoke to Nick Jonas and said something. And then she turned to Priyanka Chopra and said, oh, I know your dad. And she was like, who's my dad? And she's like, he's, Deepak, da-da-da-da-da. And she's like, oh, no, that's not my dad. Like, we have the same last name. But so later, Rosie O'Donnell publicly apologized for the mix-up, and then Priyanka Chopra was like, yeah, like, that's fine. It was just a little awkward, but like, if you had just Googled my name, you would have, you would have known, like, I'm not Deepak Chopra's daughter. And so I was thinking about this because I was like, God, it's so relatable. Like, I have had people confuse me for other like Indian female comedians or, not get my name right or whatever. I mean, it's a honest mistake, but it's just, I just very much was like, damn, to the other, like, I was like, damn, Priyanka Chopra, like, I feel you. You know what I mean? Like, I really feel your situation. And, I thought it was really interesting that Rosie O'Donnell decided to publicly apologize about that. Like, that also adds another layer of, I don't know, like, definitely accountability, but it's also like, whoa, this is kind of like turning into a thing, and I'm sure there's going to be think pieces about like, what does this mean about like race relations in America or whatever, like, but, all I can say as someone who is named Priyanka, that I get what it's like to have your name confused with other people. But in this story, it was the Chopra part that led to the confusion.
Right.
But yeah, no, the struggle for white folks to understand Indian names is real.
Are you mistaken for other Priyankas?
Well, there's not really a lot of other.
Are you
Priyankas.
mistaken for that Priyanka?
People don't mistake me. I mean, I'll have a taxi driver be like, "Hey, Priyanka Chopra." I'm like, "Yeah, not Priyanka Chopra, Priyanka Wali." No, but there were some other. When I was starting up in stand-up comedy in the Bay Area, there were a couple of other female comedians that were also working around the same time I was, and there were definitely like other people that would confuse us. But we didn't have similar names at all,
Right.
Yeah.
So I used to be on the Adam Carolla show. I was the news girl for a while.
Yeah.
And then
I was just on there like a few weeks or like a week ago.
Yeah. So Teresa Strasser was the news girl before me, and she and I look kind of similar. And so guests who had just periodically been on they were convinced, like, oh, I haven't seen you since the radio show. And I'd have to be like, I know this is, I didn't actually say all this, but in my head, I imagine saying like, I know this is crazy, but that was actually another person who looks very much like me. It's like almost my clone. She and I don't think we're clones, but because I remember, talking, she and I were before I was on the Adam Carolla show, there was another job that she and I both auditioned for. And then I was talking to the producer like a few weeks sometime after about a different thing. And I was like, oh, so who ended up getting it? And he's like, your clone, because she had gotten it. So that's how much other people think we look alike. So I get that to other people it's confusing, even though I don't think we so I get it. It's weird.
Yeah. It is a super awkward situation to be like, no, that's a completely other human being.
Yes.
Like with a whole other life
right.
and different parents and like everything, you know.
But if I drive the point home, you're going to feel totally weird.
Yeah. Well, what was awkward about the Priyanka Chopra situation is because her father has passed away. So, that must have been really weird to have someone be like, I know your dad. It's like, really? Like, I don't know. Yeah. Awkward is definitely what it was.
Yeah. All right, let's do Just Me or Everyone.
Is it just me or everyone?
All right. Do you have Just Me or Everyone?
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know if this is just me or everyone, but I journal. I journal a lot. Part of self-care. I can't journal unless I have this one specific type of pen. Otherwise, like it's like not good journaling. Like it's just, it messes up my journaling to not use a specific type of pen. That's
the type of pen or one pen?
It's the type.
Okay.
It's the type. Yeah, no, because obviously that pen, the ink would go away. And,
right.
Yeah.
No.
So I have boxes of this one type of pen.
I love that. That cannot be just you. I feel, hello, go on TikTok. There's probably like 100 million TikToks devoted to specifics of pens. What kind of pen is it?
It's a Pentel RSVP pen. It's specifically called the RSVP.
I know that pen. I think that's a good pen.
I have one right here.
Yeah.
It's this kind. I'm like such a fan.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that. Yeah.
Wait, is that? I have a similar one. It's not that. I have a Oh no, maybe it's not. I might have insulted your pen. I'm sorry. I have a Uniball Signo. This has been the kind of
that
pen
one. Yeah,
I've been using lately. I'm sorry. I've insulted
I got
your pen.
it. No, but that would not fly. Like in my journal. No.
Yeah.
No. There's all these.
Is that gel or rollerball?
No, this is a rollerball. So, actually, wait. You know what? Is it a rollerball? It's actually like, what does it mean if it has like the ink in this thing? So I don't think that's a rollerball. This is like an ink
I think it's a
pen.
ballpoint.
Oh, does that? Okay, then that might be ballpoint.
I think it's a ballpoint pen.
Yeah, it's a Pentel RSVP fine ballpoint. With a cap. Okay, that's the other thing. It has to be the removable cap. They have a clicky version, but I can't use the clicky version. It has to be the one with the removable cap, and the cap has to be on the back, and then I can journal.
Yeah. No,
There's
this all
something
makes
about
sense.
the weight of the cap that sits on the hand that is conducive to journaling.
Yeah. I mean, this is unusual for a doctor, right? Because doctors are supposed to have terrible penmanship.
Oh, not me, honey. No, not here. No.
I'm impressed by this because
really? Okay,
yes, cool. Because I am particular about pens. However, any sort of writing I do, I feel like I has to be on a computer at this point because my hand gets so tired. I do not have patience to write stuff longhand. I wish I did.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm very old school with that. And I actually take pride in, sometimes if I write for a long time, I get this little bump on the finger. And I'm like, that's like it's like a battle scar. I like wear that bump with pride.
Tony, can you write longhand?
No, not really. I think it's a combination of, not doing it all that much. So when I do, it hurts. And then plus just like getting older and like bad wrists from drumming and stuff, I think is starting to get to me. So yeah, I can't handle too much.
Are you guys familiar with that book, The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron? She's morning pages are supposed to be done longhand. She's all about how like for the creativity to flow, it has to be pen on paper. I'm like, then it's not going to flow for me because maybe I should try to do it. I don't know why. There's just something about like I can just
maybe you
get
have
the words
to find
out.
the right pen.
Maybe it's a pen problem.
Maybe it's a pen thing.
Yes.
I mean, do not compromise. Do not settle for less. Like find the one pen for you, and then the artistry will flow.
New reality show, Pen Matchmaker, pen match. Oh my God, that would there would be a very small devoted audience for that show.
There will be people that get it. Yes. There are people out there that get it.
And then, do you have a "Hey, go fuck yourself"?
Oh yeah, I do. So there. Okay, and I already came down on high fructose corn syrup, so I can't. Can I choose that one? Because I have another one.
If you have another one, let's do that one.
Okay, so I have this life-threatening nut allergy. And there was this one time where I went to this restaurant. It was a Mexican restaurant, and I ordered enchiladas. And they, for some reason, still to this day, I do not understand this, but this particular restaurant put walnuts over the enchiladas. And yes, God. Like, it's just like, to me, I am saying go fuck you to walnuts over the enchiladas, because who does that? Who does that? And seriously, traditionally, Mexican restaurants are probably one of the safer restaurants for people with nut allergies to go to. And so I ordered this enchilada not knowing that there would be walnuts over it. And it turned into one of those nights where I had to inject myself with Epi, and it was like this whole thing. And you know what? I was just thinking about that today in preparation for this podcast. And I'm like, you know what? Who the fuck puts walnuts on an enchilada? So I say, fuck you to walnuts over enchiladas, because they should have no place over an enchilada. I don't care if you have a nut allergy or not. Walnuts and enchiladas, no.
Hey, go fuck yourself.
So, yeah, that's insane. Was it like a fusion restaurant?
No. Here's the thing. It was not a fusion Mexican restaurant. It was a traditional Mexican restaurant.
This is insanity. This is the height of insanity.
Yeah. It was just a creative choice made or from a culinary perspective. But to me, it doesn't even make sense.
Right. Were you like, this is so good before your throat?
I love enchiladas. Let me be clear. Again, it's the cheese thing, right?
Yeah.
So I'm so hungry, and I'm like biting into it, and I'm like, oh, this is so good. And then I was like, why do I feel like how I feel when I eat nuts? And then my throat started to close up, and I got the chills that I usually get. And I was like, wait, what is going on here? And then I like digged into the enchilada, and I found this little nut, and I was like, is this really happening? Is there a walnut are there walnuts over these enchiladas? We talked to the waiter, and the waiter's like, yeah, there's walnuts over the enchiladas. I was like, why wasn't this on the menu?
Yeah.
This was years ago, by the way. I feel like there's now more awareness around people's allergies. So like a restaurant, probably they would put it on the menu and stuff. And so, I was in college when this happened, but when I was thinking about what would I say, go fuck yourself to, it's the concept of walnuts over enchiladas.
No place. I have no place. No. Priyanka, it was so lovely having you on the show. Thank you so much.
It was so lovely to be here, Allison and Tony. Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for letting me bend your ear about water and TikTok and all sorts of stuff. Yeah. Tell everyone where they can find you, what they should look out for. Plug all your things.
Yeah, totally. So first thing, HypochondriActor releases every Wednesday, once a week, and we have a different celebrity with a different medical issue every episode. And HypochondriActor can be found on all the podcast channels out there. And then you can find me on social media at Wali Priyanka. I'm on all the things except for TikTok.
As of now. You'll see. You're not. We'll see. Eventually, they'll come for you, and then you'll find yourself there. Listen, if you like what you're hearing, which even if you don't, please just make sure you're subscribed wherever you listen to podcasts, and leave us a nice review, won't you? Because I'm in there checking. I mean, no, I'm not. I'm cool. I don't care. Definitely not trying to see if people are leaving 5-star reviews, but if you are, please leave a 5-star one. Wherever you're but look, Apple Podcast comments helps out the show. Please leave them there. But I've recently become I've been doing this a long time, but I feel like it's fairly new that wherever you're listening, you can rate the podcast. So wherever you're listening, please rate them. Also check out my other podcast, Upworthy Weekly, comes out on Saturdays, Childish on Wednesdays. Follow me on social media at Alison Rosen on Twitter and Instagram. And Tony, what about you?
I am on Twitter and Instagram at
Tony Thaxton.
And my podcast, Bizarre Albums, every Tuesday. And that's it for now.
All right. Hey. Thank you again, listeners. Thank you for listening. I love you. You matter. Goodbye.
Hey, do you know about the Alison Rosen show? We had a good time, but now we gotta go.